Steven,
No.
what do they call it? A rear naked choke?
Why?
Yeah.
Because you're in the rear. You're on the rear of somebody, and I mean, it's like you're basically just choking them when there's no defense that they can do. It's naked, I guess. I don't know. I'm totally guessing.
I just like everybody's analysis of, like from NBA people to wrestling people this week. You'd be like, Draymond Green pulling a rear naked choke. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Did you see the thing with Joe Rogan commenting it, doing the commentary?
No,
Made
I
me
haven't.
laugh. Cracked me up.
Well, what did he do? He's like, oh, he's choking him.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's got him in a rear naked choke. Oh, he's locked it in. Like,
oh, wait, did someone edit it or was it actually Rogan talking about it?
oh no, it's edited.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like from the Rogan podcast or anything. I'm not going to listen to that. Look, say what we want about Joe Rogan. Dude is one of the great analysts in sports. I think he's fantastic at
Really? Okay.
Oh yeah, the UFC crew, the main crew with John Anik and Rogan, and I don't know. Sometimes it's a mix. Daniel Cormier. People get on him for his lack of research sometimes and his bias towards certain fighters. But I don't know. There's a couple others that I like. There's one named Laura Sanko who's making her way up the ranks. She'll be really good once they make it up. But anyway, I think the UFC commentators, they're underrated. They don't get talked about enough for their broadcast.
I just enjoyed this week when Rampage Jackson was talking about he looked at the video of Draymond and Rudy Gobert and he was like, man, Rudy Gobert could have got out of that choke really easily. That motherfucker needs to go home, Gobert.
Yeah, he's like a go Cub.
All right. Welcome to Just Your Opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. Besides that terrible joke,
good one.
We got a lot to talk about today. Obviously, we got Draymond being suspended for 5 games, the Warriors losing 5 in a row. We got NFL season in the middle of it, basically, with a good deal of big-name quarterbacks out for the season. We'll talk about the Raiders. We'll talk about the Niners. We'll talk about the big Eagles-Chiefs game. But before we get to all that, no surprise, and you can tell I'm wearing the shirt today, the Cell shirt. What was it, on Thursday? It was announced that it was 30-0 vote. Every MLB owner voted in favor of the Raiders. Well, feels like it. The A's moving to Las Vegas. And no surprise, maybe one, vote here or there, but it was unanimous. And, owners are going to follow the money or whatnot, but it just sucks. And I know, you give me grief sometimes. A lot of people give me grief about like, oh, you rep Oakland, but you grew up in Danville and you moved around and you basically lived most of your life in Texas. Let me just say, yes, that's all true.
Yeah.
But as far as my sports home, the Coliseum is my home. Yeah. And Oracle is my home. And I grew up loving baseball, football, and basketball there. And just to see that place eventually become a wasteland is devastating to me. And I think it's devastating to Giants fans. I know you grew up going to that area, Steven. So I don't think anybody felt good about this, whether you're an A's fan or a Giants fan. I don't think this is good for baseball. I don't think this is good for the Bay Area whatsoever. I love Bob Melvin's comments, even though he has taken the reins as manager of the San Francisco Giants. He's devastated by this. Yeah. It's just not good. And you could say what you want. I've said it over and over again. I'm tired of saying fuck John Fisher and everything, but our jackasses of the week, I'll just say mine, Rob Manfred and John Fisher. He finally speaks. Just their lack of empathy and it's just ridiculous. So another Oakland team leaves, and I live here now in Oakland, and I love the area, but it's not the same. It's just not the same without the sports team. So we're still going to have the A's in Oakland, and I can't imagine what that's going to be like in 2024, maybe beyond that. There's talks about possibly, having select games at Oracle Park, and I couldn't fathom that whatsoever. I couldn't fathom them. Like, part of me wants to tell the A's, get out of town at this point. Like, what? Like, if you think that it was a mess last year with people not coming to the games, I can't imagine what's going to happen next year. So,
yeah.
I'm not surprised by any of this, but it's just sad. It's sad for the city of Oakland and for the Bay Area and for baseball, and yeah, it's just sad.
I think my jackasses of the week go to all the owners who are falling for this. I got bothered by the quote that said that there's no perceived better alternatives. What are you talking about? There's plenty of better alternatives. You just didn't want to make it work in Oakland. Like, that's the bottom line there. It's like Rob Manfred and John Fisher. They're going to be like Thelma and Louise, man. They're like on the run here from A's fans. A's fans are going to continue to chase them as they're holding hands in the car. But then, you know what? It's all going to come crashing down at one point. Spoiler alert. But it's all going to come crashing down with like I just, even though it's happening and it's becoming more of like a reality that they're leaving Oakland, it just feels like this trek that they're on to Vegas is going to just end in a total mess. Like, that's what it's what it feels like as of right now. But no perceived better alternative. So all owners, go to hell.
Yeah. Like, even who's the owner of the Dolphins? His name's escaping me at the moment. He voted he voted when they were having the vote for the Raiders to leave for Vegas. He was the lone owner to be like, and I know a lot has gone on with him and Brian Flores and a lot of shady shit, but I always remember him being the lone owner being like, can't the Raiders stay in Oakland? And I wish somebody said something like that. But nevertheless, greed talks, money talks, and the A's are on their way to Vegas. We don't know when. They're building the stadium. And you talk to people in Vegas, and they're not even excited about this. So whatever. The Oakland community loses another great team. And you and I are familiar with this situation, but we don't know all the details of everything. And somebody that really does, someone that we used to work with back in 95.7 The Game, now he's an independent reporter for A's Unleashed. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Karl Buschek joins us.
Woo!
What's up, Karl?
Yeah, Karl.
Great to see you guys. How are you doing today?
Oh, hey, we're matching.
I'm sorry. I love it. Karl, we're all friends. You know, great to see you guys. How are you doing today? Like, we just saw you before we came out here. You've been waiting. We know how you're doing. What's up, man?
Steven, did you not get the text message to wear your cell shirt? What happened here? I thought this was in the group chat, man.
I didn't get one.
Ooh, okay.
I had
there for the boycott, Steven.
I had the Estuary, however you pronounce his name, Estuary Ruiz 60th stolen bases shirt, the giveaway that they had. I forgot which game it was against. I think it was against the Tigers, actually, when they had the giveaway. I had that. I was looking for it. Couldn't find it, though.
It's really not at all the same thing, but I do appreciate the almost.
So, Karl, you are now, since you've left 95.7 The Game, you are an outspoken A's fan. You tweet about all of the things with the team and everything going on with them leaving. So this is no surprise this week, but just your reaction to it becoming official.
I think one thing that really jumped out to me is that how slow of a burn this has been, right? Like, this was not some rug pull where in the middle of the night we found out that all of the owners voted to approve the relocation. So for anybody who's followed the team for any number of years or decades or whatever it is, it's obviously devastating to see that probably the final nail's in the coffin. But it's very odd that we've kind of known about it in a certain sense for months, if not years. I mean, I think back to April when the A's just got absolutely killed on a homestand. I think they lost 6 games. They're about to go on the road, and then like at 9:40 at night, some website from Las Vegas that nobody's ever heard of is like, the A's are buying a plot of land in this place you've never heard of in Las Vegas. And everybody's just like, what? Like, this is how the news is breaking? And that was a major, like, just out of nowhere kind of thing. So to give a long kind of winded answer, it's been both obviously very upsetting, and also you're kind of just like, it was entirely expected. Like, you thought maybe there'd be one owner who said no, but this is politics, right? You get in line because you know down the line you have a favor now, because John Fisher has got to be the most impotent owner in pro sports right now. He can't sell the team like he wanted to maybe do for a quick profit, right? Because he's going to get taxed. And he can't do anything but go along with what all the owners said, because they're the ones who approved the move and gave him the votes and are trying to put an end to what is probably one of the worst PR campaigns against a team we've ever seen, that being the whole entire 2023 season.
What do you think's been the messiest part of this whole situation? Like, stemming back from, I don't know, let's just say from the start of what you talked about, when they some random publication basically said, yeah, the A's are coming to Vegas, or they're getting a binding agreement done. But what's been like the messiest part to you? The fact that they had to switched locations in Vegas multiple times, to those hearings in Nevada when Dave Cavill just didn't have any answers and the council guy just absolutely throttled him in the public eye. I don't know, Miguel Cabrera and the whole wine bottle giveaway thing. Like, what's been the messiest thing to you throughout this whole process that the A's have just kind of embarrassed themselves? Right.
I'm glad you asked. I brought some notes. I thought I needed to maybe organize a few thoughts.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic question. I think I would need to literally go back and like reread all of the things I wrote on my phone. I recently the timeline of the season. But the one thing that stands out to me that is just like the most easy thing ever is, I think like everybody in the history of like the world is like, pay teachers more, right? Like everybody in all walks of life is like, teachers should get paid more. And the A's are like, all right, I'm just spitballing here, but what if we sued a group of teachers to force our move through so we can get 380 million? Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I know the PR people there. I'm not saying it's entirely their fault, but what? How does that happen? Where like the only thing, like there's probably a 99.99% chance of this move happening. And the only thing that's standing between that is maybe you sued the wrong group of teachers. I've never heard of anything quite like that. So I'm going to say that's a pretty good option.
So John Fisher has pretty much gone silent this whole season. There was my biggest takeaway from the season, the biggest PR nightmare to me, is that he did a sit down with Raj Mathai where he was not allowed to have any actual audio recorded of him talking. It's just the B-roll of his glorious house. But he finally spoke this week along with Rob Manfred. What did you make of John Fisher actually coming out and finally saying something in Rob Manfred's comments?
I think it's very telling of the guy's character that the first time probably anybody outside of maybe a diehard San Jose Earthquakes fan has ever seen this man in person is on the day that he announces, hey, I'm taking the team and leaving. Like he's used this man, Dave Cavill, as his kind of like walking, talking lightning rod. I think he was previously called a bobblehead, but he's just been used as a lightning rod, right? He's just the stand-in to take all the heat, to say all the ridiculous stuff. And it was interesting to me that Fisher was out front, incredibly lacking in poise or charisma or just any general human emotion. On this day of all days, Dave Cavill nowhere to be seen. I think he did like a few tweets, but mostly absent from the proceedings. John Fisher also penned a letter, which was certainly not written by him. I just don't understand how you spend 16 years, whatever it is, not taking a single question on camera, and then you decide this is the day to answer questions. It's just maybe just continue to sit it out. Maybe the owner said you have to do this, right? As I was saying, he's kind of at their beck and call at this point, but
yeah,
just terribly lacking in poise.
It feels like it's too little too late, doesn't it? At least with him saying his words. I mean, it's just, I don't know, maybe if you're coming out, like the thing that Derek mentioned, those interviews, and the one that he did with the Vegas Review Journal too. They were calling it like the media tour or whatever before he went on with Raj. But when he went on the Review Journal, like they made it seem as if, oh, this team has been quote unquote tanking for the past couple of years. It's like, no, this has been going on since he started getting a majority stake in the team in 2005. And I think, like, I don't know, would it have helped if he actually spoke earlier as opposed to now, like maybe a few years ago? Or is it better that he just stayed silent because he clearly has no interest in actually, fielding a competitive team every year?
Yeah, I don't know what he could have done that would have landed better necessarily. I mean, like, he's going to be like, hey, for the next decade and a half, we're going to run the playbook from the movie Major League. That's not even that good of a movie. You guys know all we're doing. We're not going to pay any players. We're never going to re-sign anybody.
Whoa. Hold on.
You got a problem with that.
That's a great movie.
It's an average movie. It's not like some cinematic masterpiece,
Okay, now you're going to be coming on here shitting on Rookie of the Year, all right? Okay, thank you, Carl.
I don't know what he's supposed to say. Like, he can't be honest. Like, hey, I am trying to run my business into the ground so that I can move it and make a bunch of money and then maybe sell it and profit. But the owners didn't let him do that, other owners. I think you could argue that the ownership group needed a better front man. When I look at other Bay Area teams that actually get things done, the Warriors, they built a beautiful new stadium. The 49ers, even if it's in not San Francisco, built a new stadium. The Giants, like all of these organizations have multiple forward-facing people, whether they're the managing partner, whether they're the president, whether they're the son of the owner, even in Jed York's case, who understand the art of being presidential, right? Of being the figurehead of a large organization, and not just either being completely absent like Fisher was, or in his absence, just kind of being, like, technically speaking, a schmuck. Like, I mean, it's just so part of it is that Dave Kaval is not good. He's a minor league president. Let's be honest. It was very transparent. Anybody who saw what he did with the Earthquakes then saw him with the A's. So again, you have to hire somebody better is what you got to do.
So, I mean, you brought it up. A lot of the Bay Area teams that left, the Raiders and the A's, they waited for, the city to help out, and they didn't. And they decided to get approval for the money to come in for Vegas for the Raiders and A's. And give credit to Joe Lacob and the Warriors. They were the only team to say, we'll just leave on our own dime. But what do you say to the crowd of people that say this is the third team now that's left Oakland, and you got to point the finger at the city a little bit? What do you say to those people?
I mean, I think that's a pretty good observation to make, right? And I also think that if you have tweeted anything about the situation, you get weird people in your replies giving you that argument. And it's like, okay, well, we go point by point. It's actually pretty straightforward. The Warriors moved. They moved like 3 BART stops. They're in a different city. They're the Golden State Warriors. If you go back and read their Wikipedia page, they played in a number of different gyms in different cities and different counties in Golden State, California. Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate for Oakland to lose such a awesome organization, but they still have their headquarters there. They're still very much involved in the community. So to me, that one is apples to oranges. The Raiders kind of have a track record of being itinerant. They have moved before and they've come back. And again, when you look at the Raiders, they maybe could have stayed here if a certain baseball team and their slumlord owner had let them build at the site that he actually didn't want. Yep. Right?
Yeah.
Like Mark Davis had some pretty pointed comments a few months ago. And for all you want to say about Mark Davis, and he's kind of a loser, he was right in that context.
Yep.
And I mean, so I think those two are pretty important observations. And in the case of the A's, we've talked a lot about Rob Manfred. We've talked a lot about John Fisher. We've talked about the owners. How about Bud Selig? Like, this is decades of baseball being like, no, we're not going to do this. Yeah. I saw John Shea, one of the smartest baseball writers out there, tweeting that it was like 187 months since the Blue Ribbon panel or whatever it was called. I don't know if that's the actual name. I was in like 7th grade. Like, what? Did that exist? Who was on it? I don't know. Yeah, so that it is a bummer for Oakland. It's bad optics, but it's lazy to say that, oh, they've lost all 3 teams. This is their fault. They have some blame, but do some digging.
Yep.
What's one thing that you can point to in the future with this whole move, and you could say, all right, this could really screw them over in their relocation? Is it, I don't know, these next 2 deadlines that they have to hit? I saw something like by December 1st that the Tropicana Hotel, the company that owns it, has to come up with an agreement to the A's to like make room basically for the stadium on that site. I know there's a January 15th agreement so they can get all the revenue sharing for the next couple of years. Or is it just like the fact that, hey, by the time you're done in the Coliseum, you actually should probably build a competitive team before 2028. Like if you want to actually bring the Vegas fans, like, which is the biggest hurdle, do you think, for them that they probably won't clear?
So I can think of some hurdles, but there's one big issue that I would point out at the front end is that the reason why I think this is actually going to get done now is not because John Fisher is some brilliant businessman or Dave Kaval is at all good at his job. I think the other Major League Baseball owners have been so thoroughly embarrassed by this season was just embarrassing on so many levels. It was a really bad look for the league. I think they're not going to let the deal fall apart.
Mm.
I really don't. And I think that was part of why they put the tax on there. They're like, you're not just going to go to Vegas, pump the value and sell your franchise. We're not allowing you to do some little like house flipping scheme here. This is not like some fixer upper. This is $1 billion business. But with that out of the way, what I would say is, does anybody know the name of the stadium, or have we seen any pictures of it other than some like really bad Chat GPT drawing that we saw once that was widely panned?
Just that.
Did anybody tell me what bank is financing this? Is Goldman Sachs going to give John Fisher a loan, who is worth $2.6 billion, we think? But like, have you seen Gap stock in the last, I don't know, decade and a half? So yeah, who's financing it? I would love to know. And who's financing what is the actual stadium? Also, does it fit on the plot of land that they supposedly have is another observation. But again, the problem is the other 29 owners, probably 22 of them are actually good businessmen, and they're not going to let the weakest link screw this up.
And I just love that, you mentioned John Shea. Him and Scott Osler have just been on fire really the past few months just with their A's columns. But I love the one that they're just like dissecting how this stadium mathematically, like, it's not going to be able to profit from the amount of seats that you have and from the amount that you expect to attend every single game. Like, they're supposed to have a sellout, aren't they? Every single game, pretty much, if they want to even net some sort of profit. It just all seems so messy.
Yeah. A couple of thoughts there. First of all, I think it is worth shouting out John Shea because in this kind of landscape of a lot of media people who have frankly gone out of their way to kill A's coverage, certain flagship radio stations at one time, newspapers, John Shea is just a damn good reporter who's been the only guy who every year is like, hey, Rob Manfred, remember me? Fuck. Like, he does that every year, and Rob Manfred gets mad about it. So anyways.
He's the one that had Manfred like indignant at the podium a few months ago, whatever it was. I forgot which meetings it was for, but he was the one who just like he had Manfred just looking frustrated with just these questions around the A's that he couldn't answer.
It's basically like when Jim Trotter shows up every year for the NFL meetings, and of course, the commissioner's like, oh, not this guy again.
Yeah, because that's literally exactly what the job of a reporter is. But back to the stadium and like, does it fit on the land, or does the math add up? Another interesting thing is people say, oh, even Mark Davis and the Raiders went to Las Vegas and now they're worth blah, blah, blah money. It's like, yeah, NFL franchises are 10 million trillion times more important than Major League Baseball franchises, because now 8 days a year, Allegiant Stadium is a destination for every NFL fan base in the whole world. And I'm sure they have concerts and other dumb events there as well. The inventory is all screwed up. 81 home dates in a city that's known for trying to distract you to get you to come to this event or that event. Like, why would you go to a baseball game on a Tuesday night if you're in Vegas for maybe 2 days? Or why would you go to a baseball game anyways? Like, nobody went to the F1 race. So I don't understand that. I don't like the comparisons to the Raiders because, again, I think NFL franchises are just kind of bulletproof. I literally think any one of us could have been the managing general partner of the Raiders and probably done a better job. So I don't know about that math.
Speaking of the Raiders, when they announced the move to Las Vegas, they were going to remain 2 more seasons in Oakland. So in 2016, they had a pretty, exciting season. They went 12-4, and they were able to survive the next 2 seasons or next 3 seasons actually, because they were, a compelling team. John Gruden came aboard, and people were still going to go out to the games despite the fact that they were going to leave the city. Now that what's going on with the A's, the attendance is terrible right now, and I can't imagine what it's going to be like next season when they still remain in Oakland. What do you think is feasible as far as, we're talking about already a boycott, opening day for next season where no one shows up to the game. I think that's very likely. What do you think is going to happen in the next few years here with the A's remaining in Oakland before they go to Vegas?
It's going to be very strange. There was games last year where you went and you're just like, what the heck, man? This is like post-apocalyptic. It's like there's just nobody here. And that's going to probably be just about every night. There will still be out-of-town fans for the Mets or the Cubs, something like that, because people live here that want to see their team.
Yeah.
I hope they play in the Coliseum forever. I love that place. It's a dive bar, right? As the New York Times famously called it. And I think anybody who grew up going to games there actually finds it to be a pretty charming place. And I if you don't understand that, it's because you haven't gone to games there. You're just taking the low-hanging fruit of saying, oh, it's a shithole, which it is, but it's also, there's reasons why people like dive bars. So there's probably going to be some games next year where there would be more employees on hand than fans, but they'll probably only have like 12 people working because, they're cheap. But to that end, I feel awful for the stadium workers.
Yep.
They're just more collateral in this deal that get totally screwed. Good people who work hard and now have to figure out what they're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. There's one who works in the Shibe Park Tavern, like game after game after game. And I remember thinking of her immediately because I'm like, damn, like what's she going to do? What was I going to ask? Oh, speaking of Coliseum next year. So the three options that Cavill laid out as to where they'll play once the Coliseum lease expires. One, they could extend that lease. But of course, the mayor basically said, like, look, if you want to extend the lease, then you gotta, it's got to be mutual here. It can't be a one-way street. I'm not just going to extend the lease without you actually providing us with concessions, as she called it. Sharing Oracle Park was the other one, and then potentially playing in the Aviators Stadium. Do you see any of those as actually feasible, or it just feels like all of them have some sort of caveat, which just does not favor the actual destination as opposed to the team?
Yeah, again, it's as if this organization did not plan what they're doing at all whatsoever, because the Coliseum thing would probably be the smoothest option, but the mayor was like, yeah, you can do that, but we're going to keep the team's history and branding and name, which they should.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic if that happened. I hope it's like the Las Vegas, I don't know, the Las Vegas Losers or something stupid.
The Las Vegas Spirits. We'll go with Spirit Airlines. And they could call it Spirit Stadium.
Yeah, but it's just like, so that would be, I hope that happens. I don't know if the A's, if that will happen, who knows?
No.
Oracle Park, I think probably could happen just because I am not a baseball financial reporter, but I believe the team needs to play games in the Bay Area to get some TV revenue money. And so that sounds like a problem. And or Summerlin, Nevada is certainly not going to qualify. Not even a place like, I don't know, Stockton or Sacramento would qualify. So again, it's almost unbelievable how poorly managed this billion-dollar organization is. And they have no good options right now. So that's a terrible position to be playing from because you have no leverage whatsoever.
Well, personally, I just want to know, I have gone back and forth on it. I told myself that I was not going to go to any more games this season. And then at the end, I said, okay, it's the last, if this is going to be the last season in Oakland, I might as well enjoy it. But part of me now is like, why would I go? Why would I give money to these owners? I could get free tickets here or there, but why would I do this? What's your feelings? I know that you cover the team kind of as an independent reporter and whatnot, but are you going to put your own money on the line to go support this team next season?
Yeah, so I've been thinking a lot about what the pivot is here, right? Because I'm through and through a baseball guy. I will find some way to continue enjoying baseball. I think I'll go to games next year because I enjoy going to the Coliseum. And sure, I'm giving money to John Fisher, but it's a rounding error. It's not like even if I spend X $100 next season, which I won't, but say I did, right? It's not like that changes his life in any tangible, meaningful way. So who cares about that? I think a good observation my friend made is, drink your beers in the parking lot, tailgate in the parking lot, don't eat any food there. So I guess you can limit it like that. I think in the long term, it's pretty obvious you can't follow this team to Vegas, because the whole joy of baseball is going to the ballpark. And how many times you can go to Las Vegas? First of all, I don't even like Las Vegas. I think it's a terrible place. That's another story. So I would say probably I'll just pull a full Bob Melvin or something would be my move, I think. But yeah, I think people on Twitter are like, I don't know why anybody would give the owner another dollar. Yeah, logically you're right, but it's like, that's not how sports works.
Yeah.
You're a fan of this because you grew up going to games with your dad and your brother and this, so to me, I think people should do whatever they want. Boycott, don't boycott. but I certainly will continue to go to games because, again, I like baseball. But going to games in Las Vegas, I don't want to go to Vegas regardless of whether this franchise is there.
Yeah.
You know, like when the relocation happened, the unanimous vote went through, like we were all kind of looking back on the great moments just in Coliseum history. And it's been just, you know, home to iconic moments. I mean, you just think of John Madden and him, you know, standing up on shoulders or whatever, sitting up on shoulders, or you think of Scott Hatterberg's home run. Like for you, just what's one memory that you look back on, whether you attended the game or didn't attend the game, where you think that really speaks to just like the identity of the Coliseum?
Yeah. It's funny. A lot of them weren't even like necessarily super good outcomes for the A's because the last decades of the A's seasons haven't always gone great, but the playoff atmosphere there, whether it was, you know, way back when the Yankees were always finding some crazy way to beat the A's, those games were incredible. The years when it was A's Tigers, like that place is so loud because it's just this big giant concrete bowl and there's 54,000 people there. Like it's just a fantastic atmosphere. And even going beyond the A's, I remember, Derek, you were pointing this out, the Raiders had several last games at the Coliseum because we never knew when it was actually the end. I remember there was one game, I think they must have won, and Charles Woodson's at center field.
Oh, yeah.
Not center field, he's at the center of the field, right? And he's doing the Raiders chant. And I'm not a Raiders fan, but that was such a cool moment to hear this echoing Raiders chant. And like, I used to love going to Raiders games as a reporter because it was the coolest atmosphere ever. Everybody wore black. It was just this big party. So just the energy of that place is pretty remarkable. And then you go across the path to Oracle. So just the atmosphere, the energy, it's I don't want to say it's unmatched because I'm sure there's other great places, but can't get better than that.
No, well said, Carl. And Steven stole my question there. So I guess we'll end with this.
Well, I got one more.
Oh, do you now?
Yeah.
We'll go for it then, Steven.
Oh, all right. Well, this is simply one of my favorite memories. Was going to the free A's White Sox game, and then I ended up getting in the line for beer, and the line was super long, so I figured it's a good idea to get two of them, and then bought two of them, walked all the way to the tree house, and then you were standing right there down the row.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't even see you at first. You were at one end, I was on the other, but then we ended up hanging out, and I learned how much of a huge A's fan your dad was. So I want to know what his reaction to all of this has been. What's your dad been saying?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it really speaks to the whole like crux of all this, right? It's like people are like, oh, you know, what team are you going to root for next? Should I root for the Mets or the Padres or the Giants? Here's the answer. There's actually no answer because the way that being a fan works is it starts with going to spring training every year with your dad and your brothers. And once that's gone, like I can't go back in time and go to Mets spring training, right? Like I went to Giants spring training, but you know, just because there was no A's games that day. I haven't talked to him too extensively about it. But to me, that's just kind of like the thing that I think a lot of people have spoken to in different ways, but it's like, it is a connection point for people.
Right.
And did Rob Manfred or any of the owners or any of the Fishers, do they care about that? Is it just kind of something? Because I don't know. Like I just think of all these great memories I have of going to spring training.
Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking like, oh, like recently I was like, oh, I want to go to spring training. And it's like, well, you know, I guess I could go to spring training. I don't know.
Right.
No, I mean, I totally get that, Carl. Like, I don't know how I'm going to feel when, you know, if they keep the name, it says Las Vegas A's. You know, that's how I feel with the Raiders, where it's like there always will be detachment, but I don't feel the same way as I did when I was a child. Like, it's your memories are kind of taken away from you a little bit. Like, you hang on to those. Like, you'll always be a fan of the Oakland A's or the Oakland Raiders. But then when they have a different identity, it's like I just don't relate to this team anymore. And it's just a weird feeling, but there always will be like, I don't know, like I'll admit, like there's never a part of me that still doesn't care about the Raiders. I always will, but it's just a little bit of the fandom in me that has died. And I'm sure that's going to happen with the A's when eventually they do move. So I totally get that sentiment. Anything else you'd like to say about this move, Karl? I know it's not going to be for quite some time, but you always are unleashed. So anything else you'd like to say?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we've talked a lot about John Fisher. Guy's a piece of shit. We've talked a lot about Rob Manfred, just a noted scumbag. I want to make sure we talk about how big of just a douche Bud Selig is in all of this. Lou Wolf, we see you at Dodgers games. We remember you. Like I said, media people, don't tweet about the A's now. I know what you did. You know what you did.
Yep.
Flagship stations, shame on you. And I guess just kind of the thing that really hit me when this was announced at like 7 a.m. because of course we did it early in the morning in Texas. I was like, John Fisher's worth $2.6 billion. Like, if I was worth $2.6 billion, do you know what I would be doing? It would not be being terrible at running every single business I've ever owned and maybe committing human rights violations. Look that up on Google, guys.
Yeah.
Like the entire chessboard of life. You can do anything, John Fisher. And you picked to be a completely devoid of talent, lacking charisma, lacking any skill of any kind.
Karl, it's been worse for him than for A's fans, as he said.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's worse for me than you. That's the one where I actually sat back. I was like, dude, are you serious? Did you really?
That was the beautiful icing on the cake of this whole.
Did he really tell that to not just a fan, to the Oakland 68s leaders? Did he really just do that?
But what? But I am also glad he said that because it explains everything. Because it has been worse for him. Because he's never understood the concept of reality. Like I was saying, the entire chessboard was there. And it's like not even the entire chessboard. He could be a rook today, but use the rules of a pawn, or he could be the king, but actually he wants to be the queen. He could do anything.
Yeah.
$2 billion. And you decide to be terrible at business and make a small rounding error more of money by moving to it's just like, dude, what a waste of this. What a waste of an opportunity, man. Like you're a loser.
And then he could purchase half the Coliseum site and ruin any sort of potential redevelopment in the future. Like I know Dave Stewart's. What's that?
Like the Oakland Raiders.
Exactly. I know Dave Stewart's group, the African American Sports and Entertainment Group, is like trying to purchase that land so they can create it into basically this village on the side of 880. But John Fisher could purchase half of that and just kind of do whatever he wants. It's full of greed, man. Greed.
But the point I'm also making is that it's not even just greed. It's just like, dude, what do you like? What? Like this is how you use. Like you were dealt the greatest hand possible. I don't mean to make everything about money, but it's like when you have that much money, I mean, it's pretty great.
Well, they've made it all about money, so it's like, why not have us make it all about money too? That's all this is. It's like he was dealt a straight ace of spades in whatever the other blackjack card is.
Talking about Vegas there. Well said, Karl. Yeah, this has been a shitty week, but we still got the A's in Oakland for a little bit of time, but it's just not going to be the same. Thank you for coming on and giving your thoughts on everything. Before you get out of here, I just want to get your final thoughts on this. Who has a better podcast, Damon Bruce or us?
Oh, wow. You guys.
I'm just putting you on the spot.
First, you almost make me cry, and then you, geez.
That's what we do.
Man,
you could say the plus. It's okay.
I was trying to think of. This is like when Garrett Cole got the Cy Young the other day, and they're like, "Who do you wish was on the stage with you right now?" And he just like stands there awkwardly for like 8 seconds trying to think about it.
I don't lie, Karl. You don't listen. It's okay.
Yeah, you should say my wife, who I'm standing right next to right now. Yeah, so of course, just your opinion, man. Right? That's the name of the show.
And on that note, Karl, thank you for joining us, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Say again.
I said have a good one.
All right.
Thanks, buddy.
Later.
Oh my God, I love
Karl Buschek, ladies and gentlemen. And now we have to awkwardly kick him out of the studio or ban? There's a ban.
We kick him. We just kick him out.
God, you can ban people out. Jesus.
It says kick or ban, either one. So I think.
So what does that do? It means their email can't get back in here ever again.
I think so.
Holy shit, that's incredible.
We can officially ban him from the pod.
No, we'll have Karl come back. That was
no. I love Karl. It's like I don't know. When I met, I knew a little bit about Karl, obviously working with him and all that. But that moment I talked about with that A's free game, I think that was in 2019, maybe.
Yeah.
And yeah, when I ran into him and his dad, like the way that his dad was dressed, he had like an old faded A's hat, one that he's clearly worn to a lot of games. I think he had a few pins on it. He had like an old school A's pullover jacket, just the classic A's fan that you see all the time. And it's like, you think about guys like that, and that really introduced me to how big of a fan Karl was. I'm like, okay, there's no way that Karl has his dad here and he didn't grow up like going to these games constantly. Yeah. It's just,
No, I gained a lot of respect from Karl. We used to work together and we became close friends. But when I'll share a story. He really loved covering baseball, whether it was the Giants or the A's. And there was one season when we were working at 95.7 where we decided that we weren't going to give credentials out for A's games. And Karl was very upset.
Yeah.
And that's kind of led to his Unleashed, where he, wants to cover the team and wants to tell you the truth about the team. So I have much respect for Karl, and his A's fandom, it goes beyond mine. He's really dedicated to the team, and I know this hit him, so I was really happy that he was able to come on. And this will not be the last time we talk about this. Opening day will be very interesting, whatever happens with that boycott. If there is nobody in attendance, that will be quite the sight come opening day of the 2024 season. But we got a lot of time before then.
Yeah, that's it. There's just so many questions that we don't know, like where they're going to play after next season, how many fans are going to show up, are they going to actually try and field a competitive team when they don't actually have a home, are players going to want to actually play for the A's, seeing how the owners have handled it by 2028? Like, what are they going to look like? The Raiders, at least the Raiders, when they moved, at the very least, they had some sort of core established. This was when we were still giving Derek Carr time. Josh Jacobs was a rookie. Max Crosby just came up. Yep. It's like, okay, they got something that they could build their team around here in Vegas. They got something. But right now, it seems like the A's, they actually have quite a few young pieces. Lawrence Butler, Zach Geloff, he's got a lot of talent. Esteury Ruiz, Soderstrom needs to get a lot better. He was the number one prospect for a while and didn't really pan out in the pros last year.
Rooker.
Yeah, Brent Rooker. I mean, he's kind of a veteran. Like, he's probably not going to be around by the time they move to Vegas. He reminds me of like a Stephen Vogt type.
Well, I would love to get his opinion because he's actually very outspoken, and maybe I'll ask him to come on here because he's not afraid of an interview. So
I also love his takes on baseball. I think he's got a pretty bright future in the analyst analysis game.
No, we had him on with Tolbert and Coops a couple of months ago, and he is very, very good on the air. So I would love to get his opinions on this stuff. And about the broadcasters too. Dallas Braden has been very loyal to the team, but Brody Brazil has been outspoken too. How's this all going to go? Dave Stewart, Bip Roberts. It's going to be very interesting next season.
It's just going to be so messy, dude. Not
is.
Just next season, just after that. Like the lease extension. I mean, is there a chance that baseball expands to Oakland? Probably not, because it seems like major league owners just want to get them out of there. Like, the unanimous vote should tell us all we need to know. Yeah. I mean, it's not just that, but it's also the waiving the relocation fee. The relocation fee is a pretty penny, and these owners, they get a slice of the pie, depending on whatever that was, and they're just okay with Manfred being like, nah, we're not going to charge them. What? It's just, there's everything about it. It's just, I wish I had a bigger vocabulary, but like, it's just messy. That's all I could think of. Messy.
100% it's Messi, and not the player that plays.
Not the Lionel Messi. Nope. No.
So yeah, that is our A's talk for today. But this will not be the end of this. Obviously, it's inevitable. They will be in Vegas, but I'm sure a lot of shit will hit the fan before then.
I'm telling you, man, December 1st, that's the first deadline that they have to hit, where the Tropicana site has to basically agree to, like,
we'll look out for that,
to create the room for the stadium. Like, are they going to hit that deadline? There's a January 15th one where these major market teams have to give 50% of their revenue not 50% of their revenue, but the A's are going to be getting 50% in total. And I think they're getting like 65 or something the following year. And if they want to get that in full, they have to have this agreement by January 15th. It's all going to be a mess. It's all going to be a mess.
Yep. We will get to football here. Don't you worry. I know we've gone on about the A's stuff, but it's obviously a big deal here in the Bay Area. before we get to football, we were on the air when the fight was going down between Klay Thompson and Jaden McDaniels and Draymond Green putting Rudy Gobert in the headlock. And that night, I was kind of like, it's Draymond being Draymond. See, like in the moment, I don't even know what I think anymore when it comes to Draymond because I'm just like, it is what it is. That's just Draymond. And in hindsight now, looking at the thing, I was like, God, he had him in a headlock for quite some time. So when he was suspended 5 games, I wasn't really shocked. Like, this is what it is with Draymond at this point. Should Klay Thompson, Jaden McDaniels been ejected? I don't think so. I do think that whole altercation was prompted because we'll get into this, but Klay Thompson is having an abysmal season, and I think he's extremely frustrated with his play, and he just took it out on Jaden McDaniels. As far as Draymond, he just hates Rudy Gobert. He was looking for an excuse to go after him. And I thought Steve Kerr was pretty telling when he spoke before the game on Thursday, saying that Draymond went over the line. And I feel like Steve has said this in the past before, but this was, I think, the first time where he was like, we need to sit down and talk to him how detrimental he is to the team at times. And it's not about ejections. It's about, as he put it, having violent acts on the court. And, at this point, I don't know what's going to change for Draymond. They gave him the contract. This was after punching Jordan Poole and stomping on Sabonis. And then he goes and does this. And then this was, after the fact where he gets ejected from the game against the Cleveland Cavaliers and gets it to with Donovan Mitchell. Then he goes on a Instagram post saying like this, just let me be me. And, no one can judge me for who I am and whatnot. That's all well and good, Draymond, and no one's going to judge you on what the player you are. But there has to be a certain point here where, like, would Draymond the analyst criticize Draymond the player? Like, do you look at yourself sometimes and be like you're making fun of Rudy Gobert for punching Kyle Anderson last year and getting into a fight and everything, but do you ever look at your behavior and like, God, I'm embarrassed by this? I'm sure he does, but he's so wrapped up in the moment that he just lets himself just get the better of him. And I don't know, the best availability, or the best, I just ruined it, but the best ability is availability. I got ahead of myself there. But if Draymond's not available to play in games, then, what are we doing here? And he could temper it down here or there, but it's a thing in the playoffs. It's a thing now. I'm kind of over it. This is what it is with Draymond. They gave him the contract. He's going to keep doing this. Why would it change now? Is Steph going to say, we were tired of this shit? I don't know. I don't know what to make of this whole thing. I'm just not surprised by anything that comes to Draymond anymore.
No, they made their bed and they laid in it. And I think they understand, or they have to lay in it. And I think they understand that. Like, that's what Kerr was saying is Draymond knows he was wrong and it's bad. It's a bad look for the league and all those different things. And I wonder if Draymond knows that he was wrong though. Like, I personally don't think he does, because he hasn't said the exact same thing as James Harden did when Harden said, I'm the system, but he basically said, like, I make my own rules. I do what I want. No technical foul is going to stop me from being who I am. I wonder.
But that type of mentality, isn't that the type of shit that Draymond would make fun of somebody else for on his podcast?
Yeah.
Has
he come out with a podcast episode recently?
I don't think. Here's the deal. I know a lot of people are bringing that up. I don't think he does the podcast until the playoffs. That's what I always thought.
No, he had it last year. He had it going last year.
Did he? Okay. Well,
during the season. Yeah.
He hasn't done one yet. So I only listen when we're in the playoffs and he gives really detailed breakdowns of games and other playoff games. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of over it, and I don't think anything's going to change. This just becomes the territory of Draymond. He'll play great defense, and then he'll kick somebody in the nuts, and then you're praying that no one saw it, so he doesn't get suspended the next game. But yeah, that's what it is.
No, I think the Draymond it is what it is at this point. I mean, what's more to discuss? Like, should Draymond get traded? Who's going to be willing to take on the contract? They did get him for a relatively cheap price. Like, I remember thinking when that deal got done that they saved a ton of money by not paying Jordan Poole all of that and paying Draymond what they paid him. Would another team be willing to take on that contract? I don't know. Maybe the Lakers would, if the Lakers find that they need help or something. But
do you really think that at this point the Warriors want to trade Draymond? Like, they rewarded him with a contract last year. Like, at this point, I think they're rolling with him.
Yeah. I think so. And they're just going to comply with the league. They're not going to be like, I don't know, who am I thinking of? Taylor Jenkins, the Grizzlies head coach, who just straight up defended his what?
I'm sorry, but that press conference from a week ago where he was like, "Saddle up," that was the fucking worst officiating of all time.
Yeah,
And then he used different variations of saying, "My guys busted their tails tonight," or "played their asses off." He said that like 4 or 5 times. That's one of my favorite coach pressers of all time. Just him starting the press conference by going "saddle up" just made me laugh so hard.
Right. But it is what it is with Draymond. I'd just say the thing that I'm worried about most with this team, one is the health of Steph, because they're just a different team without him. And Chris Paul's been fantastic, but Chris Paul, he can't score, and you need somebody to score on this team. They're not getting it from they're not going to be getting 23 points on 39 minutes from Brandon Pajemski every night. Like that's just not going to happen. I think there's something up though with Klay Thompson and Wiggins. Like Wiggins has regressed. I've seen enough. It's already been a few games. Like Wiggins is just not the same player that he was. And I know what is he, like 29? He's 28, 29. He's 28. He's turning 29 in February. Like he's getting a little bit up there, and he's been in the league for a very long time. Like I don't care how young he may seem to just the regular person, because I mean, damn, he's younger than I am, but he's been in the league for almost like a decade. Like Wiggins has been doing this for a very, very long time. I think he's kind of on the back end of what he had in his career, just not as aggressive. And Klay, he does this every year, gets off to these really, really slow starts, but has me worried now that this is going to stretch not just through maybe December, but for the remainder of the season. Like, what if he's just no longer a 20-point guy? The way that I put it and the way that I texted to you, because you hit me up and you're just like, damn, Clay's really, he's really struggling right now. And the way that I put it was, he's not looking like a player that they're going to give a contract extension to, which he clearly wants. But I don't know which team's going to want to do that. Can they get him at a discount? I don't know. But I don't know if this might be the end for Klay Thompson too.
It might be. Yeah, just what he finished with, 1 for 10 with 5 points against the Thunder.
Yeah.
Last
time he scored just one bucket was when they got destroyed by the Suns last year in October. So it's been over a year since he had that. He didn't have a one-shot game for the remainder of the season.
And that's when he flashed the 4 to Devin Booker, right?
Correct.
I think Klay Thompson is in his own head a little bit. I think that
a lot of it.
I know, and I don't want to really, I feel uncomfortable talking about that because I just feel like I don't want to comment on someone's mental state. But I think the ACL tear and the Achilles tear really messed with his head a little bit and not having basketball. And now that he's come back and it's not the same, it's still kind of messing with his head. And he really, 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 really wanted to play well against the Lakers last year, and it just affected him. Every game you saw, he was pressing. And I think the pressure of the contract situation is messing with his head right now too. I really do. And the days of the fun-loving Klay Thompson, I don't think we've seen that in quite some time. And it's just hard to watch right now. We still got a lot of basketball to play. But if the season ended today, you would not let Klay Thompson come back on this team. You would let him go in free agency and see what he got. Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah. And I think it's fair to say that he's in his own head because he admits as much. Just how, like, it's okay to think that he is in his own head because he's told you time after time how much he cares about basketball. It's part of the reason why we love Klay. He's very quirky, but he also just has this undivided love for the game, like something that you just can't replace. It's like basketball number one, and then it's everything else. Even his boat, you know what I mean? Like it's basketball's up here, then like 3 notches down, it's like his boat, Rocco, all that stuff. And with that love, he does put a lot of pressure on himself, and he sets himself to a standard. And that standard, when it's not being met, we've seen it every single year whenever he gets off to these stretches where he is pressing and he's just putting up errant shots. and some of them falling a little short. Maybe he's just tired. I mean, he's been in the league for a long time too. Yeah. Maybe he's just sea legs Clay, as Ernie put it. I mean, maybe it's okay to admit, like, hey, these guys just aren't the same anymore, and just age might be catching up to them. That could be another thing too. But Clay, I'm not going to put it past him to have one of those games where he puts up, 36 points and does it on 6 dribbles. Like, I'm not going to put it past him to do that. But are they going to be getting just an automatic number 2 scorer behind Steph night in, night out? Not anymore. It's just not how it's going to be. And it's okay. Like, Clay's done enough. You know what I mean? He's given us enough every single year. Like, it's fine that this is happening. Just because we're saying this doesn't mean, like, we have anything against Clay.
Not at all.
He's been what's defined the Warriors. And I think that's what makes it hard to criticize him a little bit, is because just like he's given so much and right now he's not. And that's just a fact. And I think he'd tell you the same thing.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we know him as being the fun-loving Clay with Rocco and the toaster and everything.
Wow,
but
the toaster.
Yeah, the toaster. But it's just, it's hard to see it. I want to say it's coming to an end, but it just feels like, I don't know, like it's just not looking good out there. And I hope he turns it around. And now I see people on, ESPN suggesting that maybe they should trade Klay Thompson. I'm like, I don't think so just yet. And honestly, at this point, I know some teams would be interested maybe, but he's not playing well. I think they need to have Steph Curry come back. I think there's a decent chance he plays tonight, and we'll see if that's official in a couple of hours here. But they just need to get their groove back again. I still think this team could be very good this season. Are they going to be up there with the Nuggets and Suns? I don't know yet. They competed with the Nuggets, and it was very impressive a couple weeks ago, but we'll see. They are an older bunch. Like I said in the last podcast, I do not regret anything with the Jordan Poole trade, because, good Lord, every highlight you see of him now is just unbelievably nuts, of him airballing and doing just wild shit. So it was necessary. But we'll see where it goes with the Warriors this season. Draymond, will come back against the Kings after Thanksgiving, and Steph hopefully comes back, I think, tonight, and we'll see where it goes from there. But I'm not ready to freak out about the team just because they have a 5-game losing streak. I don't give a shit about the in-season tournament. Whatever happens with this team, the most important thing is whatever happens at the end of the year.
I think it was pretty interesting the way that Dame Lillard put it, though.
What'd he say?
Just his motivation around the in-season tournament. He says $500,000 may not mean that much to some people in the league, but $500,000 could change the lives of the families from someone who may be on a 2-way contract. So,
well, of course.
There's interest in that for the players, but from a fan perspective, there's not. I mean, fans aren't getting any money. What I mean?
Ramona Shelburne was on with us a couple days ago, and she was like, "Did you guys see LeBron after a post game of after one in-season game?" Where the reporter was like, yeah, it's an average night in the NBA, LeBron, putting up this amount of points and, this score. And he's like, well, it's not just another average night in the NBA. This is an in-season game. We're taking this seriously. And everybody's like, all right, calm down, company man. Like, we get it. We get it. This could change the lives of some players. But, like, I'm not buying
change ours, though.
No. Like, I'm like, them. Exactly. Like, I'm not tuning. Like, whatever this championship game is going to be, I'm sorry. I have very little interest. Like, this to me is like the All-Star game. Like, it's not anything huge to me.
So getting back to the Warriors, though, I think my one concern is, and we're going to see it, I think, again tonight, and then I think we're going to see it against the Rockets, though the Warriors do have Steph, who is just, he's an ageless wonder. Like, it seems like every year he's just somehow getting better and better. I mean, he's probably not the same. He's not the same Steph that he was during those unanimous MVP years. I think we kind of overlooked them, but Steph is so strong now, and he's still doing it at 36. It's great. But when you look at these other teams, like just how young they are, and the fact that, they've accrued these draft picks, like the Rockets right now. I mean, they just came off a 6-game winning streak. I mean, it was their first 6 wins of the season, but they came off a 6-game winning streak just now. A couple against the Kings, a couple against the Lakers. The Thunder, what you're seeing in the Thunder right now is a young, up-and-coming team. And Fitz and Buki, even though, they kept on talking about how much the Thunder are just never going to shoot. Like, Isaiah Joe's never going to shoot this way again. Like, we know that. You know what I mean? When they're getting past all of that, they did say that this is a young, extremely talented team that you just can't roll over anymore. Rockets are the same way. look, the Timberwolves, they're really finding their groove right now. Anthony Edwards is just awesome. Like that final play. That's the reason why I thought they were going to lose in the fourth quarter. When we got off the air on that Tuesday night, like off the air, when we got off this pod on Tuesday night, I was like, I'm probably going to lose because this team's going to pull away in the fourth quarter. And for all as much as we don't like Rudy Gobert, that stretch that he had for the block in the corner three, like it's little things like that make the difference. Anthony Edwards, the old Anthony Edwards would have been passive, or excuse me, not been passive. He would have been aggressive on that play, probably tried to get up to the open shot, but instead he hits Mike Conley in the corner for that three that really was the dagger. The Suns of the Suns, the Pelicans, the Kings, the Mavs are finding their way right now. The Nuggets, still young, up and coming. Like, I think some of these teams are just surpassing the Warriors, and really, like, they're kind of turning into the Warriors right now as far as just being the younger team that's kind of rolling through everybody.
No doubt. But I will say, the Warriors got some interesting youth on the team. I was very impressed with. I'm gonna call him PB2, Brendan Pojemski. I like his style, and I've never heard. You like that PB2?
If his first name started with a P.
Sorry, BP2.
Well, can you say it?
BP2.
It's all right.
You don't like that?
All
right. Brandon Pojemski. Everyone says he looks like the dude from The Bear, I guess.
Well, like the main character?
Yeah, because of his hair.
What the hell do people think his hair looks like?
Curly and everything.
Main character's hair is curly, sort of, but it's more long.
I'm not the first person to say that, Steven. Look it up.
Well, you're all wrong.
Okay. All I'm saying is I haven't heard Steve Kerr ever talk that glowingly about a rookie before. He's going to say, oh, yeah, he's a hell of a player. He's going to play every night. He never said that once about James Wiseman or everybody else. So this guy's going to have a role on the team.
Hang on. I need to pull up. Okay, maybe I'm a little harsh on the
I'd say so. Jesus.
Of that, but like, come on. The Bear, he does not look like the Bear.
I don't watch the show, so I can't say.
Then how are you going to say? You just did.
I just heard people say that. I'll have my there. He's got the curly hair. Yeah,
it's sort of curly. It's more longer though. Like Pods has like the.
We're going with Pods instead of PB2.
You just said it wrong.
I know. I'm sorry. I fuck it up every time. It's PB sounds better.
No,
BP2.
Just get rid of it. You're not going to be able to say it just don't. Just get rid of it. It's Pods.
Pods.
He's everything that the Warriors wanted Nico Mannion to be when they drafted Nico Mannion in the second round. Like that's where I'm at. Trace Jackson Davis is impressive. Kuminga's taken a step forward. Moses Moody and everything, but those guys also they do need some help. Like those aren't stars like Anthony Edwards who you can just build the team around. I really think, and I always go back to this, but the Poole thing kind of messed them up a little bit because his whole attitude changed. But the Wiseman draft pick, I remember when that was happening, that was meant to be the Nick Bosa type of pick where it's like you draft him, he changes everything. All right, this is where you can jumpstart the new era of the Warriors while keeping Steph around. Like you got your big man here. Who knows what would have happened with Looney, but I think that kind of threw a wrench into everything, just that draft pick specifically.
Yeah, and it turned out to be more like Trey Lance, as we've said over and over again. But maybe I just have a PB&J in my mind, even though I don't like those. All right, Warriors will play tonight against the Thunder, and we'll see how they do. They have a gauntlet next week. They play, I believe, the Rockets on Monday. They play the Suns on Wednesday, and then they play Victor Wembanyama on Friday. So that'll be interesting over the Thanksgiving week. Before we get to football,
excuse me.
Steven, do you have the clip, or can you pull it up? I didn't ask you to get this ahead of time, so I'm doing it on the fly now. Do you have the clip of Carissa Thompson on Part of My Take?
I will get it.
Okay. So, for people that don't know, Carissa Thompson, currently the host of Thursday Night Football pre and post. She also does, I think Fox show, and she does highlights, like little quick highlights during the games for Fox. She went on Part of My Take and talked about when she used to be a sideline reporter. And this is caused a lot of controversy and outcry of what she said. If you have it, Steven.
I'm still looking for it. I know you're filibustering right now, but this is kind of hard to find.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know how like because there's so many memes and everything that's posted about it now. It's like the actual video, which I actually think is all right. Hang on, I'm going to the original source where this really popped up in the first place. I'm going
Duff
to
Kleiman.
No, Awful Announcing.
Okay.
Duff Kleiman stole it from Awful Announcing,
as he does,
as he tends to do. What the hell? Did they delete it? I think part of my take deleted the clip.
No, hold on.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Hold on. I'll get it for you.
Did someone screen record it?
Well, hold on. I have it in my DMs here. I'll send it to you. Here we go.
Please do.
Oh, wait a minute.
PB2.
Yeah, the video's gone.
Yeah.
Yep, it's been deleted. Okay. Well, for people that didn't see, Carissa Thompson. Wow, that's insane. Carissa Thompson said, I haven't been fired for this yet, so I'll say it again. I've said this before. When I used to be a sideline reporter, I would make up reports. I would, if I didn't have access to the coaches, I would say, just generic shit like they got to play better in the second half. They got to convert third downs, just generic sideline report stuff that she would, I guess, hear in the first half from the coaches and then just reiterate the same thing in the second half. And a lot of people are calling her out saying that she's a liar. And this is against every journalistic integrity that you learn in school. You don't make up facts. Steven, you are in kind of the reporting game now. I would like to get your thoughts on this before I give mine.
I go back and forth because I think she was wrong to do what she did, but hearing the clip and listening to a little bit of the interview and getting the context, I think people really took it out of context because she would not really attribute what she was saying what she was saying. She wouldn't attribute it to the coaches. Like she would just basically create this own take from herself. But I also don't fully believe that because she just says that. Like in the past, I'm sure she has just completely lied and was doing a little bit of damage control by saying, no, that's not what I meant. I'm creating my own stuff. If I see they're not doing well on third down, then I'm going to say they're not doing well on third down. I'm sure you've attributed it to coaches before. You're just trying to do a little bit of damage control. I think journalism is already dead, which is the sad state of sports and where it's at. But I don't think she should be let go. I haven't listened to a sideline report in years. Has anyone like truly been locked in whenever they go? Like, no offense to those who do the job. It's a really hard job and one they probably shouldn't have to do. Maybe it's necessary, but I haven't been scraping at my TV just like, damn, the cool one that actually came out, the one that I actually listened to, and I didn't hear the beginning of it, but when the Raiders first played with Antonio Pierce and Laura Ockman, I believe is her name, she gave a story to Mark Sanchez and Kevin Kugler about how Antonio Pierce made his high school football team like run a bunch of laps for 20 minutes after they were already up by like 60 points because he didn't like what he saw in the first half of the game. There's little things like that, which are really cool. But for the most part, like I'm on the side of the people who say these jobs are kind of meaningless anyway, or at least like the reports can be sometimes. But at the same time, like the reason journalism is dead is because we've allowed something like this to become the norm. So, I think it's too little too late to just say like this hurts journalism. Like, no, what hurts like I like how Michelle Tafoya was commenting on it when it's like she's also tweeted about misinformation with COVID. So like, what are you helping? But
that's fair.
So I go back and forth on it. I also didn't have like too strong of an opinion when I came out. I was like, all right, yeah, cool. It's just something for us to get pissed about.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you for the most part, Steven, although I will say, like, there are moments like last week where the Raiders are playing the Jets, and Melissa Stark has a very new report on Aaron Rodgers saying that he hopes to be back playing by December, and she got that exclusive by talking to him on the sideline. There are moments where sideline reports are very big for broadcasts and very big for games. But, yeah, I'll be honest, like, is it crucial to a broadcast? No. but you wanted depth reporting on what's going on the sidelines. If there's an argument, if there's an injury, you want to know that stuff. And she didn't make up anything with injuries, as far as we know. She could have, I guess. Let me just say this. Carissa Thompson doesn't do sideline reporting anymore. As I said, she is the host of Thursday Night Football as far as the pregame show. And I text you every week. I was like, oh, this is a fantastic pregame show. Because it is. And I think she actually does a very good job on that. She obviously was not a very good sideline reporter. And I will say, when she was at NFL Network for a season, she did the highlight show with Deion Sanders and Shannon Sharp. I came in the next year after that show was done, and everybody I talked to behind the scenes at NFL Network said that she didn't do a good job of doing highlights. And sometimes you just know that you're not good at one thing when it comes to this stuff. She's better at hosting a pregame show, and that should be her avenue. Should she be fired from Thursday Night Football? Should she have to give out a statement while the broadcast is going on? Because that was awkward. All that stuff was coming out the day of Ravens and Bengals. And I think people were expecting her to address, the elephant in the room on the broadcast, but she didn't. I think she's very good. And I actually, she does a podcast with Aaron Andrews called Calm Down. I've seen a clips here or there, and I think it's actually entertaining. But listening to the clip, that's something you can't do. Did I think she embellished a little bit? Yeah, probably. Like, I don't think she straight up lied or just made up things. I think she just took something from the first half and just applied it for the second half.
Yeah.
But you can't do that. And believe me, I understand kind of the implication in that a little bit of for the most part, women are sideline reporters. And women want it to be taken seriously in a male-dominated industry that is sports media. So when people like Lisa Salters and others come out and say, like, this makes us look bad, I totally understand that. I don't understand, though, things like, like Rachel Bonetta, who I respect. She's very funny, and she was on NFL Network, but she came out and said, do we really need to be criticizing Carissa Thompson for this? Shouldn't we be criticizing the coaches that denied her an interview? And I was like, that's not really the point. I mean, I understand that could be frustrating, but also coaches are really not there to do that stuff. I understand that's part of their obligations, but also like Kyle Shanahan, I remember a year ago, had to do that Thursday night interview on a preseason game. And he told the reporter for Thursday Night Football, I forget her name at the moment, but he told her, look, I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm trying to coach a football game. So if I come across in a pissy mood, it's just because I'm wrapped up in the moment of doing a game. And the one problem I did have with the whole thing was I thought it was kind of a witch hunt, to be honest. Like, I understand she messed up, but the piling on of everybody on Twitter has just kind of gotten tiresome. She fucked up, and she can apologize, and then we move on. But every person in media doesn't need to be like, oh my God, do you see what she's done? She fucked up, no doubt. But I don't think we need to bury her and ask for her to be fired. I think that's a little ridiculous.
Well, this is also what's created from social media, though, right? Like, I'd love to talk to anyone who has like a strong opinion about it and then speak to them in real life, take a step back and ask, is this something you're really like spending some mental attention towards? Like, is this something you're really like letting yourself get worked up over? Something as minuscule as this? Because she may have, as they're saying here, Ernie too said she snitched on herself. Yeah, she may have done that, but I haven't heard any coaches come out and complain about her reports and say like that's totally false. Like, dude, she's in the public eye, but there has been way worse reporting out there, which is just totally false. There's one Twitter account. A lot of these people coming out and criticizing her, right? The media members. Like, they have been complicit in retweeting certain things or certain people who have been known to fabricate their reports. There's one Twitter account which really bothers me called NFL Rookie Watch, which literally, like, it gives you some facts about rookies, some statistical stuff, which is pretty cool. But there's also some reports about what they're hearing from how different teams think of this player, when it's just completely false. And like, there's been way worse reporting out there than just someone who may have said, oh, this coach said that they need to be more aggressive on third down when he really didn't say anything. Like, so let's turn our attention towards the ones who actually deserve to be reprimanded. Like, I don't know. The sideline report's tough. It's a hard job. And I can express some sympathy there in that regard when you just need something to fill the time. Because after all, no one understands the pressure of what it's like to be on national television covering a football game.
No doubt.
You're covering the number one sport, and everyone expects perfection. It's just something for people to be pissed about.
No, definitely. And I think, yeah, to your point, Stephen, like the Dove Klymans, the ML footballs, all those accounts fabricate more shit every day.
Yeah.
So, and we've gotten to a point now where Pat McAfee and Get Up and everything on ESPN runs with a rumor. Like I remember a couple years ago, there was a ball sack sports story about John Morant saying that he thinks he's better than Michael Jordan, and they ran with that on Get Up. They had fucking Kendrick Perkins discuss that quote, and it was fake. They got sacked. Like that. That's the day and age we're living in now, where fake news. I fucking hate that term, but that has taken over, and it's troubling. But again,
you ever been sacked?
Yes, I have.
I've been sacked and I've been cracked from butt crack and ball sack, both of them.
There's a butt crack sports?
There's a butt crack sports and there's a ball sack sports. I don't want any. I'm so glad we don't have like some producer because they would absolutely cut whatever I just said and use that. Good God, I can't believe I just said that live. There's nothing we can do, but we move on.
Yeah, you're gonna have to apologize for that.
God, this is bad.
No, here's what I said.
Apologize. I'm just going to be very embarrassed. But yeah, like on the morning roast, anyone who listened, it was a whole thing for like 15 minutes where we're talking about this quote from Desmond Bain saying that his biceps look better than Andre Iguodala's. And then and we ran with it, then like looked at it. Oh, that's not real. This is from Ball Sack Sports.
No, well, that happened to me just this week. I told Tolbert and Copes. Yeah, I believe the 12th man on the field during the block team for the Bills was DeMar Hamlin, and come to find out it was not. So we all fuck up sometimes, but Carissa Thompson, I think, took it a little too far. But should she lose her job? No, she just shouldn't be a sideline reporter, and that's the end of it. I think we all move on. I think people like Lisa Salters and all those sideline reporters that do a great job are not going to be affected by this. They're all respected. Just, I think she kind of put it on herself. She but like when Joe Burrow gets out of the game against the Ravens, obviously everyone was going to say, well, Joe Burrow has been ruled out of the game. And then the quote or the joke should be, I thought Carissa Thompson said he's going to come back fully healthy. That's funny to me. And she deserves a little bit, but we don't need to kill her. And she doesn't need to lose her job over it.
No, but got to find something to be mad about, right?
Exactly. That's what we are today. Speaking of Joe Burrow, he tore ligaments in his hand. He is out for the season. And now that makes it Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, Kirk Cousins, Daniel Jones, and Anthony Richardson all out for the season. And this has been a really rough year for quarterbacks. I can't even think Brock Purdy's having a pretty good season, but he had, a lull there with a 3-game stretch. Tua looks bad at times. Josh Allen leads the league with touchdown passes, but also leads the league in interceptions. Just a weird year for quarterbacks. And not to mention 3 teams that arguably have one of the 3 best quarterbacks in football, or 3 of the best quarterbacks in football, I should say. You got Joe Burrow with the Bengals, Josh Allen with the Bills, and Justin Herbert with the Chargers, all potentially going to miss the playoffs. And to me, now that Joe Burrow is out for the season, I mean, I just said last episode, I thought that they were probably going to win the AFC. They looked at the best team, and he looked amazing in that Niner game. He looked amazing in the Buffalo game, and he had a rough start to the season with the calf strain. Then he got healthy, and this happened to him, which is extremely unfortunate. But you look at the AFC now, and I don't know how many competitive teams there are right now. There's the Chiefs. And to me, they kind of have, they've only lost 2 games, but they don't look like the same old Chiefs. But right now, they're the favorites, hands down. The Ravens, probably number 2. Steelers, Browns, I don't know right now. They have a great defense, but they're riding with Dorian Thompson, Robinson. Is PJ Walker going to go back in the mix? I mean, do the Texans now have a good chance to make the playoffs? Do the Raiders have a good chance to make the playoffs now at 5-5? I don't know. I would say right now, given what's going on with the AFC, I would say the NFC has more legit Super Bowl contenders than the AFC does right now. And going into the season, we were like, the AFC's loaded. They got playoff team after playoff team. Like, it's hard to figure out who's not a playoff team.
Yeah.
And then the NFC, we're like, there's the Eagles and then there's the Niners. And now I put the Lions in the mix. But right now, with all the injuries and, Aaron Rodgers being out for the season, subpar quarterback play, I would say the NFC has more legit teams that can win a Super Bowl than the AFC currently.
I could agree with that. It's hard to get a gauge on the AFC anymore because you're right. What are we supposed to talk about? The Ravens? Like, I don't know about the Ravens. I just don't know about them being a Super Bowl contender. What, the Jaguars? I don't believe in the Jaguars. When we were calling them the hottest team in the NFL, I'm like, yeah, they've just won a bunch of games, but they're not the hottest team in the NFL. They don't convince you as a playoff winner outside of, what they did against the Chargers, but that's the Chargers. No, I can agree with that because, dude, all these quarterbacks are going down. It's taking everything away from the season, and you're just hoping that it doesn't happen with the NFC at that point. Like, that's all I'm hoping. Like, don't let Jared Goff go down. Don't let Jalen Hurts go down. Don't let Brock Purdy go down. Don't let any of these guys go down. Because
seriously,
we want it to be competitive in the last half here. But no, all the quarterbacks, though, you're right, in the top 7 of that conference, you got the Eagles, the Lions, the 49ers, the Seahawks, the Cowboys, sans the Vikings and the Saints. But you look at those teams, those top 5 all have their starting quarterbacks. And right now in the AFC, what? You got Mahomes, you got Jackson, and you got Tua, and then you've got Trevor Lawrence. But then after that, you got Kenny Pickett and the Steelers. You got what happened with Deshaun Watson and the Browns. I don't think Dorian Thompson-Robinson is going to be their starter for that much longer. You got CJ Stroud. This might open the door for CJ Stroud. Like, that could be the answer there. And the Texans. And then you got the Colts and the Raiders. But you're right. But the only thing I'd say is the Chiefs still have Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes is in the AFC. So if you're going to tell me that the NFC has more Super Bowl contenders, you're probably right. But the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes. As long as Patrick Mahomes is still playing, like, they have the best Super Bowl contender in the NFL.
Yeah, and I think AJ Cruz puts it perfectly here. AFC equals better QBs, NFC equals better teams. I agree with that right now. I think that right now the 3 biggest Super Bowl contenders to me, just from what I've seen in the past, are the Chiefs, Eagles, and Niners. I don't know about the Lions yet. They're playing very good football, but I don't know if they're a Super Bowl contender. Ravens, same deal. They have good regular seasons, and they don't do much in the playoffs. So it's just interesting to me. I don't know if we're going to have a lot of great teams when it comes to playoff time this year because of the injuries and whatnot. We'll see what happens, but it's just been a very, very weird NFL season. Still entertaining, and the ratings are through the roof, but not a good product when you're losing these many high-profile names.
No, not at all. Not at all. Burrow and Allen, those were supposed to be the 2 quarterbacks in the AFC Championship there, potentially. Like, that's what it was meant to be. And Allen's had a total regression. Burrow's not going to be there. What, you're going to be excited to watch? I don't know. Let's just take what they would be right now. You're going to be excited. I mean, actually, Ravens versus Texans would be very interesting, watching CJ Stroud versus Lamar Jackson. But
we saw that week 1.
Yeah, it's true. But then after that, what are you going to be excited to watch? Jags, Browns, or Dolphins, Steelers? Like, the bottom,
I don't know.
After 1 through 4, there's just nothing exciting about the AFC. And then in the NFC, not that exciting either. Like, I think until the conference championship rolls around, these can be some pretty boring playoffs.
We shall see. It could be like I saw a lot of tweets and memes. Like, remember when it was a couple years ago when they showed like the 4 finalists for the conference finals or the conference championships, and it was Tom Brady versus Blake Bortles and Nick Foles versus Case Keenum, and we're like, Jesus, who would have thought that would have happened? This year, we may get a lot of that. Maybe we're just like Tua's past that, but just kind of subpar quarterbacks playing for a championship. You're like, how the fuck did that happen? Because every year we hype up the QBs. That's what I did. I thought Herbert was going to be the MVP and the Chargers were going to be that team this season, and I got fooled again.
Oh, the who.
Yep. All right, should we pick some games?
Yeah. Actually, no. Hang on 1 second. Well, I mean, we already picked them, but like I'm trying to.
Well, we'll tell the audience what we picked, Steve.
Well, I forgot to upload the file here, but I'm uploading it now. It's processing. So
all right, while I filibuster here, or while Steven's getting that ready, we'll pick the Raider game, we'll pick the Niner game, and then we'll pick, honestly, the best looking game on the slate this season and probably the year. Eagles at Chiefs Super Bowl rematch. So we'll get to it all now in a thing we call wins or wings. Or for music. All right. Steven, you have one up on me because of the Ravens and Bengals. Both of us picked the Bengals to win, but alas, that did not happen. But you did pick the over, and I picked the under, so you got one up on me. Let's go through the 3 games that we selected, the 3 teams, or the 2 teams that we talk about, plus the most sexiest game of this week. Let's start with the Raiders. They are on the road for the first time with Antonio Pierce as head coach, and no one's buying them. They are 14-point dogs against the high-scoring Miami Dolphins, and the over-under is 46. Who are you going with, Steven?
Well, I think Miami's going to win, but I think 14 is just a huge number, so I'm going to take the Raiders to cover it. Because I think if you look at Miami and their losses, the reason that they're losing to those good teams, there's something that good teams all have in common. And this is what gets lost in football. But sometimes it's just good when you can run it. And when you can run against the Dolphins, that has a huge impact on what you can do. Maybe control the clock, keep them off the field a little bit. But with how good Tyreek Hill's gone, how good Tyreek Hill's been, let me restart. With how good
PB2.
With how good TH13 has been against the Raiders in his past, I'll give the Dolphins the win, but I think the Raiders can at least cover that 14. That's a huge number.
I don't doubt that the Raiders could rough up Tua a little bit. But this is a whole nother animal they're getting into that's not the Giants and Jets here. This is one of the highest scoring teams of football this year. And they're going to be on the road, and that defense doesn't play as good as they have at home. So for that reason, I am going to take the Dolphins to win. I am going to lay the 14, but I go under on the 46. I don't know. I mean, Aiden O'Connell has played well, but he's going to have to go score for score here, and I don't know if he's going to have the capability of doing that. Now, they could run the football to make it more conducive for their type of style of play, but Dolphins play good defense at times. They got Vic Fangio. And by the way, despite the fact that Josh Jacobs had a slow start to the season, I didn't know this at all. Do you see that he is 3rd in rushing in the league right now?
No.
Josh Jacobs, currently 3rd, despite... That's another thing. Offensive output this season hasn't been great. Rushing hasn't been great this season. Christian McCaffrey, despite having that, not great. Well, he's amazing, but not putting up like gaudy numbers during that 3-game stretch. Still leads the league in rushing. It's incredible. So for that, but yeah, in the end, I do think that Tyreek Hill will be a problem for the Raiders to cover. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins to win. I got the under, and I got the 14. Then we got the Niner game. Another big spread. Tampa Bay coming to town. The Niners need to stack up wins here to keep pace with the Eagles, and especially when the Eagles are going on their kind of rough schedule at the moment. Baker Mayfield coming to town. I think this is the first time Baker's coming back since Bosa introduced him and did the flag thing. And Baker, you good? But this is a game that the Niners should win. They should be a blowout. This is Brock Purdy's first start a year ago. He looked amazing, caught my attention, caught everybody's attention. So I think it should be another blowout. I think both of us are doing the same thing here. Niners win, laying the 12 and going over.
Yeah. No, I think, look, 41.5 is small to what I think the Niners can put up on this Tampa Bay team. Remember what they did against the Tampa Bay defense when Tom Brady was still there? Like they dominated that game, and that was kind of Brock Purdy's coming out party. So I think that's absolutely going to happen. And the big thing for me though is like you mentioned, Nick Bosa, Baker Mayfield, Chase Young, Baker Mayfield, Ohio State, Oklahoma. Like they're going to run rampant, and I don't think the Buccaneers' offensive line has been that great this year. If I'm looking back on it, so. Yeah, I think the Niners are just going to absolutely feast with this one.
And then finally, the Eagles at the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football. This kind of reminds me of when the Chiefs played the Rams back in 2018, right before Thanksgiving. This is kind of a similar vibe here. I don't know if it's going to be the same score. I think that was like 54-51. Not going to happen here, but just kind of like a big deal on a Monday night before we all go off to Thanksgiving. Chiefs are favored by 2.5, and the over/under, I think it's 55. I want to say it's not up on here. I have it written down here. Hang on. Yeah, 55.
Oh, my bad.
No, sorry, 45.5.
Whoops, forgot to write that.
All good. Which way are you going, Steven?
Yeah, I'm going Philadelphia winning. I think they're going to get revenge.
Mm.
I just think the defense is going to come through, man. And we saw Thursday night, Kansas City lost in the opener at home to the Lions. I don't doubt that the Philadelphia Eagles can do the same thing. So I'm going with the Eagles winning. I don't really have any good reason behind it other than I just think they're going to win.
It's no doubt in my mind. I think it's the same type of thing in the Super Bowl, that the Eagles have more talent, but the Chiefs have the better quarterback and the better coach of the situation. I think they just scheme it up like they did in the Super Bowl, where they could just dink and dunk their way to finding the open gaps in the defense. The difference in this game that needs to happen for the Eagles that didn't happen in the Super Bowl is the Eagles need to sack Patrick Mahomes multiple times. They didn't do it once in the Super Bowl. And James Bradbury, committed that penalty in the Super Bowl, and ever since then, I think he's been the target of most offenses. And I think Patrick Mahomes could go right at him. And it's going to be an interesting game. You'll get the Kelseys and the Swifts together in the boxes, and I'm sure Troy Aikman and Joe Buck will be all over that. But I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. I think same thing happens here. It'll be a high-scoring affair, but the Chiefs end up winning a close game. And I got the over on the 45.5. Just to go through the other games, Arizona at Houston. You and I see the same thing. We got Houston winning, but Arizona covering the 6 points. The over/under is 48. Both of us seeing that being a high-scoring game, and we got the over. The Lions are favored by 8 over the Chicago Bears, over/under 48. I got the over hitting. You got the under, but we both like the Lions to win that game.
I just think the Lions are just going to roll through them, and it's just going to be a blowout. I don't think that number's going to hit 48. I was inclined to take the over, but I was like, God, 48 is a very high number, and you got to expect the Bears to score a lot in that one if you want to hit 48. So I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think Justin Fields back. They'll put up some points. Dallas goes to Carolina. Carolina going through it right now. They're favored by 10.5, and the over/under is 42. Both of us think that the Dallas Cowboys kick their ass. We lay the points, and we're going over. Interesting game between the Chargers and Packers. Chargers favored by 3, over/under 44. Both of us have the Chargers winning, but I got the under. You got the over.
I think I think it could be very well on that 44 line. I could easily see this being a 24-20 game.
Yep, and I could definitely see the Chargers pushing this and just winning by 3, or losing by 3, as they normally do. Giants at the Commanders. You have the over/under is 38, and the Washington's favored by 9. You got Washington laying the points and the over. I think that at some point Tommy DeVito's got to do something, and I think that defense has to help them out. So I got Washington winning, but I got the Giants covering, and I got the under going with both those offenses.
Those chicken cutlets were extra juicy last night. I'm going to go on a touchdown spree here.
Love Tommy DeVito. Pittsburgh at Cleveland. Cleveland favored by 1. With Dorian Thompson-Robinson playing, both of us are picking the Steelers to win, and we both got the under. It's going to be a defensive game. Tennessee at Jacksonville. We both think that Jacksonville gets a rebound game after what happened last week against the Niners. Jacksonville favored by 7, over/under 40. I got Jacksonville winning and laying the points and the over, but you got Tennessee covering.
Yeah, dude, I actually think Will Levis, if you think about it, he's had a pretty tough schedule since he's come in so far. I mean,
playing the Falcons, then going to the Bucks. Steelers, yeah.
Falcons, Steelers, and Bucks. Bucks are still a pretty good defense. I think the 49ers are going to roll through them, but Bucks are a good defense. I think Will Levis can have a pretty good game. I think it's actually going to be a fun one, a little divisional game here. I think the same with the Lions and the Bears, too. It's the first time they're playing in the division. These division games always kind of come close, I think. I think it's going to be an interesting game, but I think Jacksonville pulls it off.
All right. I just think that the Jaguars need to just show what team they can be after what happened last week. I think Doug Peterson will have them ready to go. Jets at the Bills. The Bills are favored by 7.5, and the over-under is 39.5. Bills are up and down, but I think all of us, with what went down this week, them firing Ken Dorsey, they got to show something. So both of us are taking the Bills to win and laying the points, but I got the under hitting, and you got the over. Then we got Seattle going to the Rams. Matthew Stafford's back. I think the Seahawks are favored by 1, and the over-under...
kind of a pick 'em, really.
Yeah, basically. And the over-under is 46. You got the Seahawks winning and the under. I got the Rams winning and the over. And then the Sunday Night Football game, which, actually is not that bad now that you think about it, because both of these teams have improved since when they were starting the season. I think both were 0-3. The Vikings at the Broncos. Broncos favored by 2.5, and the over-under is 42. I got the Broncos winning. I got the over. You got the Josh Dobbs winning Minnesota, and you got the over. So we got a lot different this week, Stephen.
Yeah, I also thought Justin Jefferson was going to be back, but he's not.
He's not going to be playing in this game?
Just got the update that he's not. So that'll come back to bite me. But, whatever.
Interesting.
Whatever. I've won these
I
past.
thought he was coming back for the game, too. Oh, well.
I mean, I've won these past 2 weeks. I'm feeling good about it. Got these 2 things ready here. If I have to
Look at you.
drink those, and it's good.
I still need to get on. You know what? I'll do it while I'm in Florida. I will send some Pepper X to my spot. I want to try it out, Stephen. I want to try it out.
Yeah, you're weird for that, man.
End it. The song's ending. It's a perfect time to end it.
All right, perfect. Hang on. Whoop. All right, cool.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, we covered it all today, in actually a good amount of time. Anything else you want to bring up, Stephen?
No, I just can't get over the A's move.
Yeah.
I just can't get over that. The relocation, the unanimous vote, like the quotes that came out of it, what they're going to do in the future. It really it makes my head spin. It really does. And I'm not even like a fan per se, but grew up in the Coliseum basically. Like that's what I went through during the childhood games because Giants games were too expensive. So even though we were fine financially, but parents weren't willing to cough up the money to go to a Giants game.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows the deal. My dad was the face of Oakland sports for a while, so I got to experience it, and I got to meet a lot of great people. I'll always remember Ray Fosse, welcoming me to the booth and everything. All the people that worked behind the scenes. Dave Feldman was my dad's stat guy for a long time. Robert Bwan, guys that people know in the A's media circuit that I grew up with, and it's all going to be coming to an end soon, and I think we should just enjoy the memories. If you want to go to an A's game next season, more power to you. If you choose not to and you want to boycott, more power to you. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I probably will show up opening day, but I don't know if it's going to be outside the parking lot or inside the stadium yet. So.
Oh, it's going to be outside the parking lot. Looking at the details, I'm going to go to that. That's going to be a party out there.
We will. I just don't know if I want to go to the game afterwards, but maybe it's a better idea just to have a good fashion, a good boycott of the parking lot and make them know what they're missing out on.
Just take Bart. Take Bart. You don't have to pay for the parking there.
No, of course, yeah, exactly.
I think that's the
we'll do a show from there.
We should. That'd be great.
How the hell will we do that?
We could figure it out.
All right.
Do they have Wi-Fi in there?
You know what? We'll ask Cody to help us out.
What do you guys want to do there for? So what was the last thing? Oh, and Skills. Josie, his daughter, 14th birthday, belated shout out. Happy birthday, Josie.
Absolutely, Josie. Happy birthday. And to everybody in the chat here today, Ernie's, AJ Cruz, everybody, thank you for always joining us. And AJ Cruz, I do like you, man. I just called you out that one time. Just messing with you.
Young Tyler Miller comments at 12:34 in response to something in the chat, then says, okay, bye. Thank you for that.
I think that was someone's burner. All these guys have so many burner accounts. Like sometimes, like the Boo guy shows up from Ghostbusters, little icon.
Oh yeah.
I was like, who the hell is that?
Yeah. Ooh, JYOM meetup in the San Pedro Square, huh? Meet up at San Pedro, then go to that little tiki bar next door, and then go to O Flats afterwards.
enjoy that. Then you can go to the Farmer's Square and have a little dinner.
Yes, I'm down. I'm definitely. If people want to sponsor us, I'm definitely down to do some public shows.
Have a couple of beers and then maybe go to Lovex.
Become friends. Friends becomes enemy. Friends become friends.
And you're right, AJ Cruz. The tiki bar is very expensive. It's really
No, it
expensive
doesn't.
over there.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit. Then we can get all classy and go to the district. Damn, all about it, bro.
We will be back on Wednesday. I'm going to be flying to Del Boca Vista to visit my mom for Thanksgiving. So we will react to the Eagles and Chiefs game, and I'll see what hot sauce my mom has in the cupboard, or maybe I'll just bring the hot sauce with me, and hopefully that doesn't get caught through customs. But yeah, we'll be all good. See you then, Steven. And until then, say what we always say.
PB2.
Sergio Dip.